Okay, aloha everyone. Hey, thanks to everybody for taking the time to come out to our quarterly meeting. Really do appreciate it. The weather's lousy out there, but for us to make it and you make it shows a lot. I just wanted to say welcome. I'll pass it over to Dana, who's going to help with speaking to the agenda and the protocol and just the plan for this afternoon's meeting. Dana?
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Butler. I'm with Hastings and Pleadwell, and this is the agenda for our meeting tonight. Mike Kellikini will do opening remarks. Then we'll have a county update from Jennifer Myers. We will have a PGV update from Jordan Hara, and then we will take a question and answer. Project update. Q&A. Please questions and the meeting. Questions in advance. Like to submit questions in advance. Website. We will address those questions during the Q&A part of the meeting as well. The meeting is being recorded, and it will be posted on the website afterwards. And the Puna Geothermal Project website is right up there on the screen. Please give the presenters the courtesy to speak uninterrupted. When it comes to the Q&A time of the meeting, you'll have plenty of time to ask your questions. During the Q&A, we will switch between questions taken live and questions that were submitted in advance. Be respectful. Disrespectful behavior that disturbs the orderly conduct of the meeting will not be tolerated. Any behavior that threatens the safety of another person will not be tolerated. Abusive language will not be tolerated. Failure to comply with the code of conduct may result in removal from the meeting. And we thank you all in advance for your cooperation and participation.
So one thing is, we're all here to questions and answers, updates. We're really here to try to help communication with the community, and definitely we're gonna make sure that we keep it respectful on both parties. Last time, there's no name calling, there's no swearing, stuff like that. If you do that one time, you're out of here. There's no exception. We need to treat each other with respect. We can agree to disagree on some topics, but it's so that we can communicate well and really seriously try to look at what kind of answers or questions you have, or comments, so we can try to give you guys answers and more information. That's the purpose of this that we're trying to do here. So we want to make sure we keep it cool, calm, collect. Now sometimes we may raise our voice so that everybody hears. If it comes into like a shouting, we'll give a hint like, hey, we don't need to yell kind of deal. But we want to be loud enough so everybody can hear. So that's reasonable. But I just want to reiterate that. And one thing on the questions, when we do call on you, it'll be a 2-minute. So you have 2 minutes to ask your question or comment. And Zach in the back, he'll be keeping a timer on that for every 2 minutes. Reason being is we want everybody to have a free chance to speak, and some people get a little carried away with maybe what and don't realize maybe the time and want to be fair to everybody. And if we go through everyone, you can go again, and we can do rounds or whatnot, but we want to make it fair to everybody. And then also it gives us a chance to answer the question, because sometimes there's 5 or 10 questions in one 10-minute spiel, and it's hard for us to keep track, and we want to make sure that we answer the questions correctly and we understand what the actual question is.
So once again, the questions will be addressed during the Q&A portion of the meeting. As I said, you can always submit questions in advance, and we have received a number of those. And at any time, the Puna Geothermal 24/7 toll-free response line is available if you want to call as well with questions. I'll turn it over to Mike now for the opening remarks.
Thank you, Deb, and thanks, Jardine. So tonight's format is going to be similar to previous meetings, but for tonight, the presenters will be from Hawaii County and from PGV. So tonight, we also have folks from Hawaiian Electric. They'll be around, so if anyone wants to speak with them later on at the conclusion of the meetings. But with Jennifer Myers from County of Hawaii. Thanks for coming, Jennifer.
Thank you. Aloha, Mai Kako.
Aloha.
Okay, like you said, I'm Jen Myers. Does everybody know what our voluntary housing buyout program is? Have a pretty good idea?
You want to stand to one side of the other?
Stand to one side or the other. I am rather tall, aren't I?
It's the slideshow.
I always forget. Basically, it's just our program for those who are impacted by the eruption. It's our ability as the county to come in with federal funds to basically buy out properties that wouldn't have the chance to do so. We've had about 820 applicants total so far across the board. And we're so excited to say that we've gotten through about almost 150 of them, which is beyond what we were expecting by this time. We should be done with phase 1 by the summer. Phase 2 applicants, 3 phases total. Any remaining monies after phase 1 and phase 2 will be applied to phase 3, so we're really excited about that. If you guys have any updates, if any of you are part of that program and want literally updates weekly on where we're at in the program, we're doing a great job of making sure that our website is updated with the latest numbers. Every time we get new updates, we put them up there on our that website is recovered at hawaiicounty.gov, and you just click on housing buyout. So roads and water line update, I know everybody's really excited about that. Has anyone heard about the new update with the draft EA that's coming out? Nobody has? That's great, because I'll be the one to tell you. All right, so we've got our draft EA that we've got coming out next month. We're really excited about. You guys should be excited about this because this is the next step in the phase. We've had to wait on FEMA to make some decisions and basically finalize that environmental assessment. We call that an EA. We cannot progress and move forward with the restoration of Pohoiki roads, both upper and lower, and then also Lighthouse Road towards Mackenzie on 137. All those projects have one environmental assessment that's getting finished this next month here, so it should be done by the end of February. When we have that finalized environmental assessment, what we're going to do is hold a public meeting. We'll also have a 30-day comment period, and in that comment period, we'll have that public meeting so that you and anyone else who wants to come get more information, ask questions, you'll have the venue to do so and make sure that you can connect with the people who have the answers for you as well. So like I said, we're hoping to have that by the end of February. We have to wait on FEMA for this, so it's them who hands us the baton. But once we have the baton, we've been spending the last couple of months making sure that when it's our turn, we're ready to rock so that we can break ground, hopefully starting this summer. So that's one of our exciting updates that we have on that. If there are any delays that happen in this process, we're going to do our best to let you guys know. But at this point, we're right on track. And if you want to know the timeline, by the way, looks kind of like this at the bottom of my page. You can find that on our website too. I'm going to keep punching to that because we're doing a really great job of making sure you're up to date. Recovery.hawaiicounty.gov is where you can find the latest. And if we do have updates on delays or improvements or what we're doing and when, you can always follow us on social. We're really good at all of our updates on our social media, and you can follow us at Kilauea Recovery on all social media platforms. That's TikTok, that's Instagram, Facebook. Those are some of the things I've been trying to do since I moved into this role to make sure that we can hit everybody with all the updates that we have. So if you're on social media, look for us. We're doing our updates there. We still have our draft of the revitalized Pohoiki Park plan. That's up on our website too. We're working on finalizing that as well. And then, of course, we've got our big event on Saturday. So for those of you who have nothing to do on Saturday and want to connect with county leaders, decision makers, do yourself a favor. Just right up this road here, up at the new Billy Kanoi, which used to be the Pahoa District Park Gym, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. we're having an open house style where people from the planning department, state and government leaders, they're all going to be there. It's an open house forum, so instead of presentations, what we're going to do is basically set up pods for people to go around and talk to these leaders. So if you have questions, I cannot tell you another place in the country that lets you literally walk up to your planning department director and ask a question about what you're feeling, or concerned about, or what you'd like to see in your community. So this is a great opportunity for you to connect with us and for us to hear you, and then to make better decisions based on how we're able to hear your voices. So also, I'm really excited about this because, free food, my favorite part. We've got food trucks that'll be there too, while supplies last. So if you're hungry, come, stay for some live entertainment, and stay for some time to connect with some of your fellow communities. And we'll also have a lot of great people there from local businesses, local Revitalize Puna initiatives as well. I mean, there's just ways to get for that as well. But if at any after all the presentations are done, you'd like to come over, I'm just sitting over here in the corner. If you'd like to just pick up my card, I also take any question by email, and if I don't know the answer, I will find it for you. So thanks so much for giving me the time to speak to you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
And now we'll be going on.
Bring him in.
You bring that. You should flip them in.
Be quick.
Okay.
Thank you again, Jennifer. Always welcome to have updates. Yeah, I read the article in the newspaper about the EA for the Pahoa Road, 137. All great news. So, and down to the lighthouse, right? Those three areas. So it's perfect. So, yeah. So I just want to preface. Jordan's gonna do his update and presentation. Part of it is to help out, because in the past there's been questions about how the process works and the plant, how we are renewable, et cetera. And this is a great opportunity for everyone to ask questions. And even like what Jennifer said, if you folks want to speak with any of our county officials and have questions about PGV, the planning department, we work closely with them. The permit that we have with the county is the geothermal resource permit. Those are the folks that oversee us from a county level. Jordan? You better plug them in.
Thanks everybody for coming. So plant update wise, we're continuing to make about 24 to 25 megawatts. In 2017, we were like at 38, 40 megawatts, so we still got a ways to go. As for the plant, we're continuing to do maintenance. We have all of our units available, but continued maintenance and any type of preventative maintenance always continues. We have completed KS-19, which is a production well. Right now, though, we're injection limited. That means we have production, but no place for it to go, right? We need more injection, so we're currently drilling KS-21, which is an injection well. So we're in process of that right now. 19 we don't have in service yet. We're looking hopefully maybe by the ending of the month or in March to put it in service. So that's coming up. Other than that, it's just been kind of normal activity, continuing to work on our wells. And so we have 21 that we hope to finish maybe in the March time frame. And then we're going to look at drilling another production well, which is KS-22. So that'll be coming too. We need more production and injection is the bottom line. What I've realized too is, in these community meetings is with a lot of questions, I realize even though people have been coming to a lot of these community meetings, and I've invited also, for tours and whatnot, but the knowledge of how our plant really runs is not known. In some ways, sometimes it's a little technical, but I can try to explain it in a little bit more simpler terms. We have some of these drawings or these diagrams to help kind of illustrate how things work there, right? And it may help and may help educate. A lot of times I do get questions, and when it's explained, then a lot of the concerns get a lot less, and they understand that this is how things work. So this is a quick example. It doesn't have in detail, of course, all the components, but it's your basic diagram. I don't know if everybody can see or what, but so your production well, right? So this is where we're bringing up brine and steam. Brine is like salt water, right? With steam, it's a mixture. We call it geofluid because it's a mixture of the two, right? So production well. Now, comes up through 2 isolation, and we have VLIN, so isolation valve, control valves, which are also, and the control valve shows how much of our artesian, depending on temperature, what plant, the control up and down along the other set of isolation to isolate each well to a common header. We have example KS18, KS14, KS17, production wells in service, right? So each one has its own isolations to the branches to one common header, right? They're all going to go to one common header. That common header has the geofluid, right? Remember? And there's actually 3 separators, but it's just showing a separator to explain. And what it does is it separates your steam and brine, right? We want brine going one direction and steam going another. The brine is your hot water, basically, right? So your hot water is going to our bottom end units, okay? The steam is going up to our top side units. It has another, what we call polishing separators, because anytime you use steam, you want to make sure you take out particulates, water, right? You want dry, nice, clean, dry steam. And so it goes through a polishing separator, then comes up the hill. When it comes up the hill to the top side unit, it goes through one last separator. It's called a secondary separator. Your secondary separator is the last line of defense of protecting your turbine, right? We want to make sure that we have no brine in there, because a 6,000 RPM turbine, you can damage the unit, right, with droplets. So that goes through, and we run a steam turbine. The exhaust of the steam turbine is still hot steam, but not as hot and not as much pressure. But we want to use that extra steam, right? And we don't want to waste that still. So we run it through a vaporizer. What is a vaporizer? A vaporizer does exactly what its name is. It vaporizes pentane. What is pentane, right? Pentane is what everybody was concerned about, right, during the lava flow. Pentane is very similar to gasoline. Vaporizes at a really low temperature. We store, so each unit of these small units have about 3,000 gallons. We have 9 currently in service, well, available. And then our bottom end units hold about 12 to 13,000 gallons per unit. And then we have storage tanks. So later, before when it was thought, man, you guys have so much pentane. Well, it's divided up in many different sections, right? It's not just all in one big tank. And it's just, a gas station holds way more in one quantity in one tank than we do. So we go into the vaporizer. Our vaporizer, we vaporize pentane, and stick with me now, I'm just going to go with the steam and brine side. We vaporize pentane. When steam cools down, you get condensate, NCGs, non-condensable gases. Okay, non-condensable gases will come out the top, and it doesn't show it on here, but that goes to compressors. We get the condensate, which is still warm water. We still want to take advantage of that, right? We're trying to get the most out of our resources possible. So the warm water then travels to your preheater. And basically that's also preheating your pentane before it goes to your vaporizer. Okay, so then your condensate will go out, go through a condensate pump, go through your brine header, which connects with your NCGs, and that gets injected in the ground. Okay. Your pentane system now, because we're worried about pentane also, right? Well, pentane is just like a refrigerant system. This system is also like your car motor, where you have like oil and coolant, right? They do a heat exchange but never touch each other. Very similar, where we have a heat exchange. So we have our pentane system in here. So your pentane is going to come through, your liquid starts here, right, at your feed pump. Your pump pumps the pentane here, and remember, it's getting warmed up by your condensate, right, your warm water. Then your pentane is warmed up now, then goes through your vaporizer, which the steam vaporizes it. We go into our pentane turbine, and now the vapor goes out to your condenser. And the condenser is exactly what it does. It cools it off like a radiator, turns it back into liquid, goes to a hot well, which is not shown on here, back to your feed pump, and just keeps cycling. So that's how the pentane system works. Steam side works with that pentane system. Never touches each other, but has that heat exchange. On your bottom side unit, we have brine coming in, right? So this is just that hot salt water that comes in. And your brine is going to start, right? Your first heat source, vaporizer first, and then it once pentane is from here, from your preheater, back, and just keeps just like a refrigerator, just like, right? The heat vapor goes back. So collected, and this would be like, so remember I said we had NCGs, non-condensable. It comes out of the steam when we condense it, and condensable, it doesn't turn into a liquid, right? It's gas. We don't create it, it comes naturally out of the ground, and so we collect it. So your NCGs, your condensate, and all your brine, right, from your bottom end units get collected here in a mixing area is what we call, and then it goes through either pumps depending on our pressures, and then down to injection. Now the big concern too is how we're protecting our water table, right? And I know that's a hot topic too. So our water table on our injection. So if you have your injection well here, this is how it goes. Okay, so what we have here is, this would be your injection, right? And so it's a combination, NCGs, brine, condensate, right? And brine, right? That's going down in the well. How do we protect the water table? Well, what we do is, in this section right here of piping, we have nitrogen. So we have an outside casing pipe that goes down to 3,000 feet. Okay? And then we have our inner bore. So what we do is down to 3,000 feet, it's double walled. In between, we keep a high pressure of nitrogen based on whatever calculation and flow. Example, let's say we have 100 pounds internal, right? And we have 1,000 pounds of nitrogen here. If there is any leak in between here and 3,000 feet, we only will leak nitrogen, and it's nitrogen gas. So if we have a leak out, it's nitrogen. If we have a leak in, it's nitrogen. We monitor this pressure 24/7, and if we have any loss of nitrogen, we can tell, hey, we got a leak. So what do? Well, we may have to take the well out of service. If the leak is smaller, we can pump it up with more nitrogen. We can maintain that pressure, but we know that all we have is nitrogen leaking. There's ways also for us to tell if it's leaking internal or external. Below that, we have slotted liner that eventually happens, and this is where we inject. So this is a big thing that is something that I know people are concerned about. It was brought up, and that's definitely something that, I wanted to educate everybody on. Now, renewable, right? For one thing, it's an enclosed system, right? There's no open ports normally, unless we have a release. The production well comes up, goes through the system, goes down injection. The ideal scenario is that we inject so that it has time for all that liquid to heat back up again and come back up, right? So it's like a enclosed system, right? Renewable, because we put everything we get from the ground back in the ground, allow it to heat back up and come up again. There's times where we actually have too much of a communication, and if we're putting cool water here and it's too close to the production zone, we end up killing our production, right? We're cooling off our production side. So we can say, hey, how come you need another well? You just drilled a well or whatnot. Well, we don't control any of the fractures down there, and we don't frack. So that means we do not create any voids or whatnot like the oil industry. So what we do is, it's whatever's given to us, and sometimes those cracks are natural crevices connect with production too quickly. And when that happens, we start killing our production. So, example, KS15, we have it in service now, but we know it actually connects to our production zone too quickly. Hence, we start losing pressure and temperature. We're injection limited, so it's kind of tough right now. We got to run it to make power, but we know it's kind of hindering us on the production side. So it's kind of a catch-22. Now we say, hey, why do we need more? We have that well. Well, ideally, we want to flow the bare minimum down that well because we know it's not benefiting us on the production side, right? So there's situations like that. There's situations where we do a new well, we don't get a good well. Nothing is guaranteed, you know. We can have poor production, we can have poor injection. So that also is a big investment. That is a gamble. You know, we never know what we're going to get until we put it into service, really. And sometimes they get better, sometimes they get worse. It's variable. You know, so nothing is for sure. We've gone where we've drilled one direction, we didn't see good results. We drill another direction, we didn't see good results. We drill another direction. So it can be also costly too, on top of that. So these are some of the things that we're looking at on a day-to-day basis. And I hope, you know, it gives a little bit more insight to everybody and helps answer a little bit more questions, educate a little bit more. And I'm sure I'm going to get questions. For the newcomers that just came in, an update on how we're holding this meeting. If anybody was a latecomer, it's a 100% respectable meeting. Like I said, anybody who has a question will be given 2 minutes to ask. And there'll be no swearing, no foul language, no name calling, the first offense, and you'll be asked to be removed out of the meeting. So just other a little light on that, and you guys want to look thing too. Sometimes there is that people fans, right? The condenser fans are one of the winds and whatnot. Some noise too. Wind direction does play a key factor. Depending on where the wind is blowing, carries the sound too. Our noise monitoring equipment and H2S monitoring equipment on the borders always monitor 24/7, and we're within the permitted requirements. However, we do have sound walls that we have erected on certain sections of the plant to help reduce that noise. In the repowering, we're also looking at how we can mitigate noise as much as possible. And of course, with drilling, we try to put up noise blankets to avoid as much as possible also. It is something that we know is, and with the lava flow, without trees and stuff, maybe it made it a little bit more direct shot for some, and we understand that too. We are looking at different ways. We have run noise study tests too. Before starting the plant, during starting the plant, running with the plant, and we continue to look into that too and ways to mitigate if there is any. So we are trying to go above and beyond with noise mitigation. You know, with technology and whatnot, is there always ways to improve? There is, and that's what we're trying to see as the years go by, especially with a new potential of repower. Now, we talk about the repower, which is potentially 3 units is what's kind of in the idea now. So we have 9 units currently that can run at 9 units per, or 9 fans per, right? So that's 81 fans. And then we have our bottom end units too, which, what is the number on the bottom end units? I forget how many fans. 30. Yeah, maybe like 30 a piece or something like that. So we're looking at 3 units now. I don't know exactly how many fans, but it should be definitely less than 100 something fans. So potentially there's less noise on that. With the new units, there's only be 3 units instead of 9 and 2, 11 running. With the same amount of resource, what we're looking at that we're making, if we were making, what is projected is when we're making 38 megs with the new equipment, with efficiency and the new technology, we're looking at 46 megs with the new equipment and just 3 units. Because of the efficiency. So, I mean, we're trying our best. I know working with Helco, there's been numerous requests to try to watch on power because they are limited. We're not putting out the capacity that we used to, so it also puts a burden on them. So we're trying to come up as soon as possible to help them out. And one thing too is power is always more and more, right? There's never normally where we need less power. It's more people, more houses, more power, more things happening. So there's normally more demand. And when I started here, I couldn't understand why it was so negative. I mean, I did the research, and for me, I really stand behind it. I mean, it's a good alternative resource. It's something that we can do individually as a state. We're not relying on outside oil, fuel. I mean, given we use some oil and fuel for lubrication and stuff like that, but we're not burning it. We're not using the consumption like how a lot of other plants are. It's renewable. It goes back in the ground where we got it from. It's 24/7. So, one thing on education-wise too is you look at solar, wind, water, a lot of times it's not 24/7. Now, you can say, hey, battery storage. Well, battery storage is one component too, but normally it's a short term. It's not a long-term answer, and it's expensive. Plus, you have the degradation of the batteries, solar panels. You have also degradation throughout each year. So there's a lot of costs and maintenance on stuff like that too. But for us, this is something that we can be a lot more independent as an island at least, because we're not in other islands yet, but it definitely has potential to really keep us more independent. So anyway, that's my information. I realize, that there's a lot of misconceptions, assumptions, and so I wanted to bring some facts to the table today and help educate, and hopefully maybe we can get better understandings and maybe clarify some things if anybody had any variations of what we do. And at this point, I think we can look at maybe answering some of the questions previously asked in these last couple of days, and then of course take in-person questions. Well,
what we say, opportunity questions. I'll just take to questions that we received and our. So, the question was, she was asking a viable plan, emergency response plan, and Shelley Mahi back in 19 was uncontrolled with wanting to the emergency response. We have can be viewed thermalproject.com to a copy to fire. Typically, in fact, but because we have changed responsibility and supervisors and the emergency response plan. So for Shelley, we do have that. Some other questions, and Zach, 2 minutes. So this is from Corey. Corey has several questions. Corey, you asked about some statements that Paul Thompson from Ormat, who's the VP of Business Development, he had made some comments. Paul Thompson made some comments at the Governors Association webinar, and we weren't aware, PGV was not aware of Paul's comments at the WGA, Western Governors Association. So I have no comment on that, Corey. for Paul. I know, but the parent company does a lot that's outside of PGV, so this was not specific to PGV.
Can you say whether you agree with his statement?
Yeah, we do. Yep. Okay, so the statement was a number of approved geothermal permits, part of the permitting agency's key performance indicators. So what he's saying is that permitting in general in the mainland, US-wide, is that the permitting agencies look at the number of permits that they process as a performance indicator, which is a general statement. Okay. Listen.
Yeah, we're here. Our time is valuable. Can you ask us?
Sir, listen. If you listen to our protocol, what we said, and we say this every quarter, if you have questions, send it in ahead of time, and we'll go through them, and then we'll go around into the audience also.
A response to it. That's not how it
Some
works.
people aren't able to, and one thing is, we're answering the questions, please don't interrupt, that's part of our protocol.
Yeah. No,
Right now, you-
take it easy, okay? Listen, we have a protocol, sir, right? Zach's going to tell me when it's 2 minutes, and he just gave me the peace sign, and now we're going to go into the audience. Go ahead. You raise your hand first in the back there.
But what's your need, sir?
So the protocol, so you were outside when we started up the meeting. The protocol, we have it up here, is we're going to answer questions.
Go to the next one.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
You just claimed that the response plan was online, right? I just went to punageothermal.com. It's just a DNS form that goes to the format plan.
Puna Geothermal
That's exactly.
Project.com. I'll show it to you.
It just forwarded to ORMAT.
I'll show it to you.
You just put the burden on the parent company, right? And said they're dealing with projects that have nothing to do with Puna Geothermal. The DNS forwarding is straight to ORMAT. So why? Like,
That's a different subject.
You're looking at a different website. We can help you. We are Puna Geothermal Venture, okay?
It's on his shirt.
Yeah, it's on my shirt too. We can show you how to get to it. How's that?
I'm not yelling. I'm talking in a stern tone of voice so that they can hear me over there. I'm not yelling.
Okay, sir.
I'm speaking up so we can hear. So that they can hear.
We can hear.
That's fine.
You're perfectly fine.
I'm speaking in a stern voice. You don't.
Listen,
Yelling is a whole octave down, bro. You don't hear me yelling. It's
we
me talking in a stern voice. Pigeon chest all you want, bro.
can show you how to get to the link.
Thank you.
Okay, Bena, thank you. Well, he's being helped. Any other questions?
Sir, can you please leave? That's
Go ahead.
unacceptable.
You just took a step towards me.
Please leave.
I'm a member of the community. This is a community meeting. So now you're going to take a member of the community is being asked to leave a community meeting.
Please leave. I'm not gonna ask you again.
Please leave a community meeting.
Go back there. It's our meeting.
It's a community meeting. You just pigeon chested.
Hey, look, we're just asking to be respectful. That's it. That's all we're doing.
To be respectful. He works for you
We're
guys.
just asking to be respectful.
I was sitting down.
Got that on tape? Okay, good. Sir, I have a question back here first.
Go to the next question.
Wait, this gentleman had his hand up first. What's your name? Can we please?
Please don't interrupt.
Yeah,
You're asking
so-
someone to raise their hand here.
Well,
Go ahead.
the question originally had to do with, name the individual that has granted PGV the permission to make noise all night long above and beyond what it takes to stay asleep. That's all I'm saying. Who's the person that says you can operate and drill all night long with disregard to the types of noise that come out of it?
What's your name, if I may ask? John? Yeah, John, so noise is regulated by the Hawaii Department of Health, the Noise and Radiation Branch. So it's a departmental oversight for noise regulations. So if you wanted to know the exact person's name, it would be the director of Department of Health,
The director permitting.
of the whole department.
I hope he doesn't live in Lake Arnon. He'd never be able to sleep.
Duly noted. Thank you, John. Miss,
I have a suggestion. If you want to have a civil meeting, then you shouldn't have your employees come up on people.
Exactly.
That escalated. Please don't interrupt me. Please.
Ron, tell Ron to go to the side.
Please, none of you interrupt me, please. He's coming up on me right now. This causes people anxiety. This causes trouble. People should be allowed to speak their mind without having somebody come up on them.
Can I make a
He
comment?
shouldn't be interrupted.
So hold on, Ron.
That's
So,
all I have to say.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate it.
he's trying to let the judge. This is,
That's all I have.
oh, we're gonna have people talking out of turn right now. We're having it right now, right? And so we're trying to keep control of this meeting and let people answer and ask questions. So we let you talk. Do you have any other question? Thank you for the comment. Do you have any other question? Do you have any other question? Ma'am, go ahead.
Let me repeat it.
We've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
We've been trying to stop this for a long time. It puts a lot of hurt in our hearts that we haven't been heard. And that's what causes all of this, right? And you know that, and I know this, because we've been doing this for a long time, me and you. I'd like you to show us how a plant, in your diagrams, how the plant blows out, because I was there for the blowout. So when all of that's working, and you consider that renewable, I get it. I like that you guys are thinking renewable. This isn't renewable when it's dangerous to us. And it's also not renewable when we can't sleep at night anymore. I've been calling the health department guy, and he put it back on these guys, and they put it back on him, and there's no sleeping at night, and it's grinding in the ground, and it's making us a little crazy. So, you know, everybody needs to really hear this. We have rights. We live on an island, a beautiful island. We have the Malama Aina take care of the land, and so do you all. So I'm super grateful that you guys are trying to move forward and trying to, it seems that you, I feel it in your heart actually, that you are now saying, you know, we're not maybe getting the power we need to get from this. But if it comes to the point where you're not, that's okay. There's other renewable resources, and we don't have to use the poisonous pentane. And we don't have to, because pentane has to come from somewhere else. The oil you use has to come from somewhere else. We're always going to have that coming to the island. So why not go with actual renewable, where we really learn what renewable means and what clean air and clean earth means, and clean water, and taking care of each other. We need to learn.
Thank you, Khalid.
Renewable if you're always drilling new wells.
So if you came in on time, Jordan explained how it's renewable. You want to show that again?
So, okay. I mean, and noted from your concern, sir, sorry, you gotta.
Kalia.
I know this is a
Sorry.
public,
Sorry,
this is
you gotta
public
leave,
property.
sir.
Show me the law that I'm breaking by being here.
This is
Show me the law
this is
that
our
I'm
private
breaking by
meeting.
being here.
It's a private meeting now.
I'm literally videotaping a public.
Sir, either cooperate or we'll shut down the meeting.
I'm here 1 minute. I didn't say a word. I didn't say one word.
He was just watching.
No, I was sitting here listening.
We'll stop sign.
Step outside the doorway.
Tell me what law I'm breaking.
Okay, so, ma'am,
Renewable.
some points there.
Oh, yeah, Jordan. Yeah.
Can we agree on one thing? This is a public meeting. Can you agree on one thing?
We got in here, sir. Interrupting, we're gonna.
It is a public meeting, but we have some. If not, we're going to. You guys follow guidelines. Yeah, we're going to follow. Out there. Go ahead.
Tell the guy to get to the right website. That's why I approached him.
So, hold on.
Anyway, listen. Yeah, listen, we're gonna stop the meeting if all we're gonna do is go back and forth.
Can I say?
I'd still like to know how.
Go ahead, Kalia. Talk about renewable.
So either you guys can leave or you guys can wait in turn. No problem. No problem. We'll stay for the people who actually want to listen and conduct respectfully. No problem.
He's asking about.
Yeah.
Kalia.
Emergency plan. I don't know. They need to spell it out. We need to see it.
Ron, don't even engage.
That's a good question. We'll go over the emergency response plan at our next meeting. We'll share it.
But right now the two topics is one was the fuel, right? Because you're worried about pentane for one. Renewable and blowout, right? I mean, concerns of blowout. Okay. So look, this is our layout of very, very simplistic of the plant. Now, we want to talk pentane. Pentane is very similar to gasoline, right? But very dangerous like gasoline, absolutely. Do we not go to gas stations? Are we worried about gas stations? No. We go to gas stations all the time and we refill gas on a regular. We use gas all the time, very similar. We have it in an enclosed system and we use it to make energy. So pentane, very similar to gasoline. Now, renewable energy, the whole process is production well up into the units, being used, back in the ground so that it can heat up again and come back up. That's the fundamental idea of it being renewable.
I understand that. So the heat's always there, and that's renewable and green, but it seems to be as though the process of actually extracting this heated resource from the ground is not renewable. In fact, it's not even truly sustainable because you're always having to drill new wells. So that's the thing is, to me, I'm confused is how is this renewable energy when the operation has to always be expanding in order to bring this heated resource out?
Okay, good question. So production wells, anything mechanical on Earth is not forever. So any type of car you buy has to be replaced eventually. Any type of well you dig, you got to service a pump, right? If you have a pump for even artesian well, not artesian wells, but a water pump, right? So things like that, we have wells that eventually need work, need renovation, need re-drilling. We get scale issues. Let me finish. We bring up sometimes particulates, rocks, we get clogged up or whatnot, where we got to go in and do work on it. Sometimes we get a well that's not very good, and we need more. Sometimes we drill a new well because there's no guarantee a new well brings, right? So we can spend millions of dollars, drill a well, and it's not even the expectations that we were hoping. What I was saying earlier is that we can do wells and anticipation. It's just on that situation, we're going to have to drill another well or whatnot, and to make mitigation. And there's other people too who. So that's one scenario of why we have to do wells. Now for the blowout, I know you got a question, but let me finish answering this last one. So blowouts, right? We're worried about what is the worst scenario on blowouts. Well, that's why we have pressure relief valves. Pressure relief valves are made so that if we have pressure, we don't have a blowout, and it's a pressurized release. It's a release that is controlled because it has rupture discs, relief valves. So even like on a pentane tank, like example, your propane tank, it has a relief. Right? If it overpressurizes or whatnot, when the lava event happened, there's propane tanks that had ruptures and issues with, right? We do have emergency steam release facility. So what is that? Emergency steam release facility, if we have an example like Helco trips us offline and we lose all of our units, right? We're not consuming this steam. Well, one, automatically we close in all the control valves, right? We want to stop any more steam coming into the plant. Well, after that, if we do have pressure in there and it's too high, we want to make sure we don't damage piping or whatnot. We may have to release, the steam goes through an abated process, which uses caustic, abates the H2S, and then is released to atmosphere. Not a common occurrence, it's pretty rare, but that's an emergency steam release facility situation. So we do have that in process on our system to prevent any type of rupturing of steam piping and stuff like that. Hopefully that helped answer that question.
Does that put any kind of reverse pressure in the pore pressure?
So all you're
does that pressure then go into the rocks and the geology below?
So it's an artesian well, so it's just naturally pressurized and coming out. All we do is stop the flow. Now on an artesian well, it's like a siphon, right? If you stop the flow, you have the potential of losing the well. So anytime, and when I say losing the well, as in the well dies. It needs to stay hot and flow, and that's how you keep the artesian going. If you stop it, which we normally don't want to, ideally, but if you do, what happens is it starts cooling off, and you build up a water cap and gas cap, and potentially the well will die. Then we got to kickstart the well again. It's doable and possible, but we ideally, of course, don't want to have to go through that process. Good question, but it's just the normal pressure that was coming out, we just stop it. There's no pumps or anything for our wells. It's all natural pressure that's coming out. You had a question?
I did. You use a car. Okay, so this car is outdated technology. You keep on having to replace this car by keep on having to dig these wells, right? How is it beneficial to us? And does it cost more? Do we have to buy import more pentane gas to keep this going? It's a yes or no question.
So a car, how many cars have you had in your lifetime?
Do we have to keep on bringing more pentane gas in?
Pentane is reused.
So but are you reusing it?
So if your refrigerant on your AC has a leak,
are you reusing?
Do you bring in more AC?
You keep on asking.
We do reuse. So one question is pentane. Thank you very much, sir. One pentane. One is pentane question. One, you said the car, right, is a question of why we have to keep replacing cars, right? So one is the pentane system. It's an enclosed system, very like a refrigerant system, like an AC system. If we had a leak and we lose some pentane to atmosphere, or what? Let me finish. I'm sorry, let me finish. To atmosphere. It evaporates just like gasoline. So if you have a leak like gasoline, you lose, right? If you have an open vessel.
On the aquifer?
No, it's the atmosphere. It's not internal.
It's not in the atmosphere. It's not in the air.
It evaporates. Like gasoline. So pentane, if we do have losses, eventually, yeah, we may have to bring in if we do have losses. We only can lose certain amount by permit per day. It's all permitted.
How is it better than solar?
Solar is not 24/7. So let me finish these answers first. That's why we want to keep it organized so we can answer these questions. Cars, you're saying, okay, well, we're using an outdated car. Absolutely. We want to bring in a new car, which is our repowering, which will be 3 units, less OECs, less fans, less noise, better efficiency. 100% agree with you. But cars, nobody has a car from when they were born normally. I mean, it's pretty rare. Normally, you have to upgrade cars. Same like our equipment. It is an older equipment and facility that we want to upgrade with the repowering. 100% agree. But the example was for wells, right? He was asking on wells. The wells are also like cars. You put one in, you have it in service, we use it, but you can have issues. It's not forever. So sometimes we have had one. Sorry, hold on. Let me finish. Well, but you're not allowed to ask a question right now. I'm still answering. So anyway, when we have an example like KS9, we had an original production well that was 20 plus years in service. So you can have wells that are very long, and it was in service until we had the issue with the lava event. So you can have wells that go very long. It is possible.
You went over your 2 minutes.
Answering questions is more than 2 minutes. It's the question that is 2 minutes. Okay.
So it's one-sided.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have read numerous studies directly correlating geothermal plants and an increase in seismic activity, and I'm wondering if you guys have considered this and how you've incorporated that into your plan.
So USGS I think we've participated with them of having sites. I think one was Nanavali.
And we've got an array up now that Peter does.
So they are doing seismic activity, recording, and now their findings, it's never been related to our production or our activity in our scenario. Please, sir, stay and don't interrupt.
Yes, there have been correlations in different facilities that reinjection has, contributed to seismic, microseismic, very small. And we
Except
have
the one in South Korea that was a 5.5 that killed.
Okay, so I don't know the details of what they were doing, but what we're doing is just flowing the fluids that come up naturally, and we just exchanging the heat to make electricity. The cooler geothermal fluids, like Jordan was explaining, goes back into reinjection, and then over time it heats back up to come back up.
Have you also done a complete compository analysis of all the chemicals and compounds in your brine? Because I know when a lot of those types of things volatilize, they can become more reactive.
So everything that we bring up is analyzed, we send out for samples and send back in the ground.
Yeah, we do have, and there's some other questions. We do geochemical analyses on a regular basis as part of the permitting requirements with the Department of Health, the federal government.
And final question. So you have monitoring capabilities for leaks down to 3,000 feet, but your wells are between 4,000 and 8,000, correct? So after 3,000 feet, there's no way to tell?
Well, we're injecting in the ground at like 4,000 something when we start the slotted liners.
The purpose of 3,000 feet is to protect the groundwater. Okay, so what happens 4,000 and deeper is what happens naturally with what's going on down there if we're not doing anything. The key is to protect the groundwater, and that's why it's 3,000 feet. In our area, the groundwater goes down to maybe 800 feet. So we got additional coverage.
Sorry, I think...
Yes, thank you. I was wondering, there's been a lot of speculation as far as environmental impact statement. Are you required to produce one?
So the question was, are we required to do an environmental impact statement?
Yes.
So with the current operations, the answer is no. But Jordan mentioned that we're looking to install newer equipment. And as part of that process and that project, the answer is yes.
Okay, so when will you be doing that?
We're doing it as we speak. We've had a scoping meeting here in August of last year.
So you're working on it now?
We're working on it now.
Okay, and one last question on that was, when are you going to be replacing all of the air quality monitors that were lost during the eruption?
It's been replaced and brand new.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's been replaced and brand new and in service.
All through Leilani and Pahoa?
That's not us. No, ours is around our site. DOH had one in Leilani.
That needs to be contacted for that?
DOH, yeah, had one in Leilani. And Ron, did they put that one back in Leilani? DOH? Okay.
Yeah, there needs to be one down by in Pahoa too.
So that DOH, I would hit them up because they're responsible for the outside side.
These kinds of questions, it may seem like maybe we're diverting to DOH or the county or whatever, but these are the type of questions that would be helpful if you attended, with what Jennifer mentioned, with all of the leaders from the county, to share those comments too. That's helpful.
Thank you.
And so one thing too on the concerns of, I don't know where you're located, but there was another family. So the last community meeting, I was able to make it out to one family who had concerns that was south of us, took readings over there, but they also are south of the fissures. So normal trade winds is north to south, which they are getting fissures. So to help them out, I mean, I went there to try to meter, but actually they're a little southeast. So normally they're actually not getting too much of the fissure stuff. There was another lady who is kind of more northeast of us, and we're trying to get when we have like a south wind condition to kind of sniff her place, because there's atmospheric SO2 and H still coming out, and even in Leilani. And I don't know if anybody's taking readings on that, so we tried to help her out, and also the other lady, except the wind is not normally in that direction for her. She's saying when she does have it, but sometimes the trade winds are more at night.
I'll just say, when the south wind is blowing, I'm south of the plant, I understand what Leilani is going through now. I called you that one morning, Mike, when we had that big windstorm. And I understand what Leilani is going through now. The sound was incredible. Yeah, it was incredible.
Sir, in the back.
Thank you.
Yeah, I live on Ho'okupu Street in Leilani, right next to the lava, so I see you guys right across the lava. There's no trees. During the day, I can't hear you. At night, some nights I can, and it's just that kind of a roaring sound, but I don't know what you can do about that. That would be, I don't know if you can slow down at night or what, but I mean, it's not so bad that I can't sleep unless I just can't sleep, then I'm hearing it.
How long have you been there?
I've been here since before the launch.
Okay, did it make a difference when we were drilling or not?
It's hard to say because I can't. I mean, I don't know. I got your phone number, Mike. I've texted you a few times.
Sounds like he's hearing the fans.
I'm like, hey, can't sleep. But you know, I'm not here to beat you up. I just want to, you know, I'm just saying. All I expect is clean air and try to keep it quiet at night. You know, that's all I can ask for. I know there's a lot of activists here, and at the end of the day, this is just how I see it. What belongs on a RIF zone more, a neighborhood or a geothermal plant? And I think a geothermal plant makes more sense. I don't see the point in reestablishing Leilani Estates to where we're going to max out, you know, redevelop the lava. It doesn't make sense. But you guys make 20% of the electricity, right?
About that now, yeah. Where it was 30, but yeah, now.
I'm just saying, if you screw up, I'm the guy that dies first, because there's nothing between me and you. So,
Well, me first.
well, but hey, I can hear you guys talking about whatever from my house. I can hear you talk. So that's how close I am.
Are you in that Kipuka in the island, or are you up in the other subdivision?
So you got the Kipuka,
Next one up above.
you got it's a straight line. So like if the trade winds are going, it goes straight to my house.
It's the remaining one, yeah.
So one thing too, I mean, see, that's the thing too, is during the day it's not as noticeable as at night, because you don't have a lot of the atmospheric noise and stuff of the day.
You can send operators out there.
Depending on how far you live, is your access only from the top of Leilani, or is it, I mean,
This is Kapono Street all the way down to Ho'okupu, Malama to Ho'okupu.
and that's what, from the top side?
Yeah. But you know, they were going to put the air quality monitor there to DOH at my place. But all that changed and it got sent over to the cell tower next to, you know, at the park.
Oh, at the park, yeah, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense over there, but you know, but somebody influenced them to put it over there. Because I had it all lined up to go right on my property, you know.
Yeah, before we had,
Like right downwind from
it was like 2 streets above, I think, at the very bottom, on previously.
Is there any way I can get one of those tests, air quality tests?
No, yeah, so during the day, so I'll talk with you afterwards, and then get your information, and we'll try to come out and do a check at your place, no problem.
Phone number.
Okay.
Mike, you're Mike,
Yep,
right?
yep.
I got your phone number.
Okay.
Can I just line that up?
So even at that, we can bring out the sound meter too and take a reading too and see what you're seeing.
I mean, I'm just saying, they're not making it up. I hear it too, and I mean, it's going sometimes.
No, we know.
It's pretty loud.
We've gone out and we've confirmed we can hear the plant. Yeah.
So in the beginning of this meeting, yeah, I recognize, I know there's sound, and I know when the wind blows, it of course directs it right to your house or whatnot. We are looking, like I said, at the best technology of mitigating that. One thing is getting the new plant, which would reduce amount of equipment and amount of fans, which would reduce the noise. And also we are looking at putting in sound mitigation walls with the plant, of course. But definitely we can take a look. Likely during the day would be a little easier, nighttime a little harder.
You know, for those people, I mean, that are concerned about air quality, wouldn't you be concerned about water quality in the catchment tank if there was that big a problem? I mean, and it's not just these guys, it's the volcano too. You get steam coming up every day from all the fissures. Some days are better than others. So you're going to get something coming out of the ground that could contaminate.
No, there's still fissure action in Leilani too, that's why. Go ahead, sir.
Oh,
think a lot of it's coming from your fan, it sounds like, the continuous noise. You ever looked at the active noise cancellation systems for that, or would that be too expensive or not work for that application? You know what those are? So,
I'm not exactly sure what part you're talking about.
where they actually generate sound to at the same frequency, but on a phase that kind of
Cancels it out.
cancels it out. They're kind of
Would it be per fan or just in general?
constant, like a fan or something. I don't know if you ever looked at that or not.
Oh, we'll take note and try to look in something like that.
If you've got a lot of individual fans, they may have individual frequencies, so it probably wouldn't work for that. But I just didn't know if you'd looked at that or not.
No, good suggestion.
You know, you said you're producing 24 to 25 megawatts. Is that a monthly average? Or was it yesterday that happened, or was it?
Yesterday, I just spit that yesterday from where we're at right now.
the average that you produced over the past month?
I want to say maybe the monthly average is maybe like a 23, maybe for January, about something like that.
For November, it's 24.8. That's what we submitted to Helco.
Yeah, I'm just giving her a ballpark for maybe this January.
And when do you expect to get back up to 38?
Well, we're trying to drill the wells and.
Okay, the question was, what is our power output today? And Jordan said around 24 megawatts, between 24 and 25. And then Corey asked, when do we expect to get back to 38 megawatts?
Right now, we're production and injection limited. We do have a production well standby, but injection limited. So that's where we're trying to get 21 done, and then the production another 20. KS 22, and then another injection after that. So potentially, maybe if we have a really good injector with 21, we could be close. We could be close to the 30, low mid 30s or so. Go ahead, sir.
Just goes along with that. It was simply of what you're producing now. Does all that stay here, or a percentage of it all stays?
There's no connections to any other islands, and it all goes to the grid. And so one thing too to note. Right now we have 3 contracts. One is based off of oil, up to 25 megawatts, and then up to 30 and 38 is 2 other contracts. Those other contracts are some of the cheapest on the island, if not our 8 megawatt, I think is the cheapest on the island. So our new contract that we propose to the PPA would put us at a set rate, which I think
The lowest energy rates.
on the island. It sat with PUC for 2 years, and last year they approved it, but obviously with 2 years of sitting during COVID, everything changed, right? So ETAs of delivery of a whole plant, pricing, shipping, everything changed. So we had to go back, and we're working with Helco to resubmit an amendment, and we've come to very close to an agreement, so hopefully we can submit soon. But that would also, and we've also submitted in that we would have actually delinked our current contract to follow those actually price guidelines. But it's still in process. So, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So it's for everybody here. They're talking about, I'm not even going to address them, I'm going to address you guys, okay? So there's a lot of money being made, and we're getting cheaper prices here. How does it benefit any of us? Whose electric bill went down? Nobody. No, not one hand has been raised. So how's the community benefiting from these injection wells? When it went down, when PGV went down, we noticed that there were less earthquakes, tremors, right? None, it went down, it disappeared. You're shaking your head if I'm lying. Is it true? Do you live here?
2 miles from it.
So did you notice that?
Because there were 66,000 earthquakes during the
we have the
eruption.
data, right? We have the data. When PGV was down,
Well, the lava event also stopped too.
and it stopped too.
Yeah.
That's another great thing that happened. The lava stopped.
Yeah.
Haley, right?
Yeah.
What did you just say? The disrespect on Kanaka land? Are you kidding me?
Yep, exactly. He's here all the time doing that.
Whoa.
And you were speaking when I was speaking too, so
Yeah, go
appreciate
ahead.
it.
You got the floor.
Thank you.
So you have a question for us?
No, I just want to say, how does it benefit anybody in the community? these cheaper prices, the drilling, we don't benefit from it. None of us do.
Okay.
Only PGV and Ormat does.
Okay.
And done already. We don't need this. They can pack up, they can move. So we can move on with our lives.
What's your name?
Keone.
Keone. Nice to meet you. Let me explain a little bit. When PGV went down, the lower energy rates that Jordan explained was no longer available. So what did Hawaiian Electric have to do? We have to use more oil-fired plants. Use as much of the renewable resource that they had, and that's why prices went up. Then the war in Ukraine, right? Oil prices went up again. That's why we're saying we're delinking our new project from the price of oil, so that community, the entire island will benefit. That's part of what happened. Not everything, but I just wanted to throw that in.
Okay.
Keone.
But I do have, I want to answer that too. So the oil that's used for that is the byproduct. We're not really using it, right? So you guys do get it at the cheapest rate. So there's no hike in cost for you guys. It keeps on coming back down to the consumer. We have the highest in the nation. We are the most energy sufficient.
You're right.
Place in the world.
You're absolutely
but we
right.
pay the highest kilowatts per hour.
That is absolutely correct. We
And
pay
you
the
guys-
highest energy rates in the whole U.S. nation.
Yep.
And why? Because we're so dependent on oil. And that's
It's
why
not
the
where
state,
It's because
that's why
there's
the state
one
has their...
group that controls it all. It's called a monopoly.
Listen, that's perhaps, but that's why the state of Hawaii's mandate to get to 100% renewable by 2045 is what we're striving to do. We are a participant in the renewable energy that's available out there. We are 24/7, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get away from oil.
So here's the thing too
When I
is,
say we, not PGV.
and here's the thing, hold on one second. And there's one thing too is if we weren't supplying some of this cheap energy, the price would be even higher. And so you don't ever see it go, down, but it would go even more up.
You guys went on now. You guys are up and running. You just said you made 28
We
megawatts.
we
pay more today.
Yeah, everything. How much was gas? How much was gas too? How much was gas?
When you guys are closed?
No, it's across
What?
the board.
Yeah.
Cost of
When you guys
gone
were
up
closed?
across
When we
the
were
board.
closed what?
We had
When
it
we
was
shut down.
cheaper.
Well, yeah, everything was cheaper. The fuel was cheaper too.
Cheaper.
Gas was cheaper then too.
Okay, Keone.
Okay.
Let me read a couple from.
Oh yeah, we gotta get through those too.
Steiner and Larry, right? So Sarah Steiner sent in a couple questions from Sarah and Larry. That's Larry over here. Larry, you were asking, is there a write-up on a layup/recirculation means in our emergency response plan relating to securing geothermal wells during approaching lava? Your question. Our response is yes. We do have those procedures. We can share them with you. I didn't bring them, but I can definitely share it to Sarah. It's in our emergency response plan. Okay, now let me go to the next portion of it.
Could you describe it?
Yeah, so basically what we will do, if lava is coming to our location like it did in 2018, we will shut the well in, and like Jordan said, the well will probably stop flowing and cool off on its own and not flow anymore, right? But in our procedures, that's when we started to pump water to cool it off even further. So that's all spelled out in our emergency response procedures, which we'll share with you.
And you assume that you'll just fill it up and it'll stay full?
So this is where I want to help you to understand our process. So the next question that Larry had was that the 4 wells that we pump water into has a calculated volume of 150,000 gallons.
That's on the high side, but yeah.
That's on the high side. And that is based on the diameter of the well and the depth. Right? And so what Larry is saying is we pumped 1.3 million gallons into those 4 wells, which is true. So Larry's asking, where did all the other water go? Well, our wells aren't contained. Our wells is connected to the natural permeability of the geology. So that's where all the water goes. So your statement here, water.
How is that going to help it stay cool? And where does it go?
It goes into the formation where it came from. Okay, so it's not, what you say is water under containment has half the explosive power of TNT per pound. That's correct. I mean, I don't know it in detail, but it makes sense. But the water in our wells is not under containment.
It's just passed through.
It's going through the earth. It's going through, when it rains and you see water going down into the ground, that's what's happening at a greater volume down into the geology of our wells. So it's not contained. So I just want
But
to...
isn't that the idea?
No, the idea is to continue to quench the cool waters. So, the idea, Larry, is to continue to flow ambient temperature water from surface so it keeps the wellbore cool so that we can insert a plug or we can do work. I mean, it's something that occurs naturally in the industry for cooling wells.
Yes, except when there's lava nearby.
So that's why more of the reason to put ambient water in there to cool the wellbore at the surface. It did. So we submitted, we inserted plugs. We inserted plugs, Larry. So let me move on to the next questions.
Did that water not affect the geology in the ground at all?
Nope. No, the water did not affect the geology. That water came from down there, so.
People put in their questions, we gotta be fair to them. Let's get to.
Almost done with these from Sarah and Larry. So from Sarah asked, who is Bob Conlon? Bob Conlon is a former PGV employee. He was employed at PGV between December of 1993 and September of 2013. There were some other comments that Sarah asked about Bob Conlon, but all we can confirm is his employment dates. The next line of questions from Sarah all had to do with the governor's task force. Who was here during the eruption in 2018? Do you guys remember when the governor took operational control of PGV?
Yes.
You remember that? So the governor formed the task force, and every action that was performed at that plant was under the direction and approval of the governor and the person who he put in charge of this task force. And that person's name was Tom Travis. And so with all due respect, I'm going to let Sarah know that Tom Travis is the best person to speak to on the governor's task force questions.
Either that or Charlene Wardlow.
Charlene Wardlow was not the governor's commander. Tom Travis was the lead guy.
Delegated his authority to her.
So it only makes sense to ask the leader. It makes sense to ask the leader these questions. Thank you.
Who's the leader?
Tom Travis.
Not the other two.
That's right. He's trying to hear.
Wait, that lady back there was raising her hand for a while. Sorry, miss. If you tell me your name, I'll call you by your name.
My name is Shelley.
Shelly Mahi.
Yes.
Hi, Shelly Mahi.
And formerly worked for the county project in Nairobi. So there was great concern, myself as just a regular citizen too. But I took, at the college, I took environmental science, OSHA, different classes and whatnot. So one of the ones that really comes forward first is under Section 106 in the consultation. So I see, there's attempt on that. But the problem is I don't understand how you are operating, drilling a new well when you haven't completed the process of the environmental impact statement, nor the emergency response plan. So way back in the day, the EPA, the civil defense, the college, they requested from your operation, Puna Geothermal Venture, what are your worst case scenarios? Because you just can't plan an emergency response plan unless you know what are the worst case scenarios. Anything ranging from lightning strikes to emergency shutdown on help of grid. So in this case, what I'm referring to is that the EPA, when I called them up, someone who lived within 900 feet of PGV, and y'all did the horizontal venting instead of the vertical venting. And it turned out that during that process, there was 180 pounds of hydrogen sulfide was emitted per hour. Now, when I called up the EPA, I said, well, what am I looking for? They says, well, forget parts per million, parts per billion. You want to deal with poundage. How much you get the air mixed with the poundage. So whatever the poundage is, that's what's coming out of the plant. So it turned out this was 180 pounds per hour for 31 hours.
Yeah, well, you have a question, go ahead.
Okay, this is my question.
Yeah.
Is that if you have a criminal infraction as a worst case scenario, because the EPA is at 180 pounds, is at 100 pounds in a 24-hour period. So what is your emergency response plan to what the EPA said, that at that amount of poundage, it should have been required that Pahoa be evacuated up to 10 square miles. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's all the way to KL, all the way around. Now, I would like to say I want to see a drill. I want to see if you can actually do that. Do you have an early notification system? So within your emergency response plan,
Yes.
all your pages were blank. You didn't even admit one single one, not even that one, not the one that Harry Kim knows about. So are you going to, worst case scenarios, where
So
are you at?
our emergency response plan that has all of the scenarios in there. Mentioned, you can get a copy of that emergency response plan online. You can get it through civil defense, through police, or through the fire department. Okay.
And have you submitted the Royal Purple list for injectables to the fire department? Because the civil defense, so far as them responding.
Okay, slow down.
Okay.
So Shelley's asking, have we submitted the Royal Purple information? So Royal Purple is a food grade lubricant that we use in our pumps because we use it for seal protection. So it's a food grade product. And yes, we submit that. The Department of Health has to approve the use of that Royal Purple.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the Royal Purple list, there's actually quite a list of chemicals that they're putting down as
Purple is it's a product by itself.
Right.
By itself. There's no Royal Purple and in a list of other
Well,
stuff.
they called it the Royal Purple list when I was working under Emily Naioli, but
Oh, yeah.
But beside that, basically the anti-corrosive, so catalyzed sulfide, there was issue of lead and arsenic in there. But the main thing so far as new production is that an old production is that the permit that came from Department of Health under Chauncey Hugh, he said, I'm a geologist, I'm not a chemist, I have no idea what happens when those chemicals go down in the ground. So you have a water permit that is not even viable, or, so what about that? Because people out here on catchment, and you're injecting this into the ground, you have the
You're asking me status of our permit, injecting, etc. So the water, and what Jordan was sharing, Department of Health, the Underground Injection Control Program. So we have two permits that we have to adhere to for underground injection. We have the state underground injection control, and we have the EPA underground injection control. Both of those permits were recently renewed. The EPA renewed our permit, and it's good for 10 years. The state's program, which was recently renewed, is good for 5 years. So what we do, every 5 years, we have to submit an application to renew it. Every 10 years with the EPA, we submit an application to renew it. So every other permit, if we are not in compliance, then they're going to send Jordan to jail. Or Ron, maybe. But anyway, but I wanted to share something. So Shelley was talking about 180 pounds per hour of hydrogen sulfide. That's terrible, right? Now I want to share like a comparison. The volcano, the primary gas emitted is sulfur dioxide. Okay? Sulfur dioxide is considered 5 times more hazardous than hydrogen sulfide per EPA, right? So we had 180 pounds. We had Isel, and we released less than 100 pounds. And we had over 100 people pass out, got sick, right? During the eruption, it was 400 million pounds per day. Nobody got sick. So it's all relative, right?
Okay, so I need to.
And we didn't evacuate the whole island.
I need to answer to that.
Is that official?
Yeah, we're going to ask someone else.
Well, no, because Bob,
Next question. Go ahead, sir.
It's factual.
Yeah, I know.
Bob is only 10%.
It's being recorded.
Sorry, no interruptions. Next
Yeah,
question, sir.
I'm sorry.
Based on the amount of complaints you've had concerning the noise related to drilling that occurs at night, has your company thought, discussed, made a list of any alternate ways to drill, perhaps only during daylight hours? Have they come up with, I know you talked about, some matting or something that's supposed to, but just the whole thing of being a good neighbor, I can't help but see the words on this code of conduct you talk about in the meeting, talking about responsibility, accountability, respect for our community. It's like, this is the most basic thing. If I had a neighbor that put out even a fraction of the noise that this plant puts out on a regular basis, I mean, I'd probably, other than move, I'd do everything I could to try and stop it. I mean, is there another way you can do it without going?
Absolutely. We have considered and continue to look. I mean, that's what I said right in the very beginning. I understand this is a concern. Even though we are way within our permitting limits, it doesn't mean that we're not going to do any more mitigation, right? So some of the sound blankets that we use for drilling helps mitigate to make it even less noisy as it is. Is there ways? I mean, definitely ideas like that of trying to use other sound wave type technology to maybe cancel something out. Any more type of positioning of the drill rig is one thing too we also consider to try to mitigate the noise. As for the daytime drilling, so one thing that people don't understand about drilling is drilling, you cannot, so let's say you're 6,000 feet down. When, there's actually, for new companies, they only can drill during the day, right? Supposedly with the new law that they passed or whatnot. But the thing is what that means is you just don't break ground. You cannot pull out pipes 6,000 feet every day and try to drill more, right? It's just not realistic. So what you do is you would just stop and pivot, right? You'd be just spinning, not breaking ground. You're not drilling, but generators are running, right? I mean, the equipment is running, everything is rotating, because if you stop, you take a chance of getting stuck and stuff like that. And so drilling, the best way is to get it over with as 24/7. It's the safest way possible to do it. I mean, you don't want to get stuck and our formation is really hard to deal with. The rocks and whatnot. I mean, there's chance of we've been stuck before. So as for just the daytime, it's not a possibility and would take twice as long for anybody who's drilling. So new companies coming in, the price that they got to look at drilling a well, because they're not looking at drilling 24/7, a 3-month well, 6 months, right? Because you got to stop every 12 hours. So it's look at get something, and definitely, like, even with that we're looking at how the sound wall can be, the height, the distance. I mean, that's all part of engineering that we're working on to definitely, we understand it's a straight shot, right? No more trees anymore. The lava is bulldozed everything. And we understand that when the winds change, it's blowing directly to certain people's houses at times and makes it louder at night. The gentleman who said earlier even, sometimes it's all right, sometimes it's a little noisier than normal. Sometimes too, it can be from drilling, definitely, right? Drilling activities can actually increase the noise for sure, depending what they're doing. What we do is mitigate what we're trying to do at certain times of the day. If we know it's going to be a little noisier on certain activities of drilling, we say, hey, do it during the day and not at night. So we postpone stuff. Now, we're not telling everybody, but we are also trying to mitigate those issues like that too. And definitely, we're going to continue in looking at ways to try to mitigate it even more.
Do you utilize a decibel meter at the point of the drilling?
So Not at drilling. So all of our perimeter, which is closest to the plant, it's right on our perimeter. They monitor 24/7, and it's on the website where you can see the decibels 24/7. And we have A, B, C station.
But to add, though, we've hired an acoustical engineer to do surveys during drilling, and he would be right at the source. He'd go back certain distances. He'd go out into the community, and then he would be the one that we look towards to provide suggestions on how to reduce and mitigate noise. That's one of the methods we've used.
So before we even started the plant, we surveyed with him
Yeah.
to identify, how much ambient noise we go above and beyond.
Miss,
How many wells do you have right now operational? How many do you have plans for the future, the near future?
okay, the question is, how many wells do we have operational today, and how many do we have planned for drilling in the near future?
So right now we have 17, so production-wise, we have 17 standby, 14, 20 that we're gonna, we have 11 is
15.
How many wells did you start off with?
I'm trying to remember how many,
In
for the lava event.
When you first started operating,
30 years ago.
original contract
Yep.
to produce the,
So,
so how many wells did you start off with?
what's your name?
My name's Ben.
Ben, thank you for that question. Ben's question is, how many wells did we start off with? So we started commercial operation in 1993 with 5 geothermal wells.
So you are still on the current contract that you initially started business with?
We started off at 25 megawatts, then we increased to 30, and then to 38.
And so when did you get the contract for 38?
2012.
How many wells did you have then?
I don't know, I'd have to look.
More than 5. I'd say maybe 7. We can confirm the actual amount because
You've doubled or tripled the amount of wells since 2000, or since you started.
since 1993, how many would we have today total? 7 in service. Yeah, so we got 2 more in service than we did when we first started.
How many have you drilled total? In service, out of service?
Yeah, probably another 5 more.
32?
You include the redrills, there are 32 wells.
You don't know what you're talking about, not 32. Anyway, what's your question, Ben?
I was just trying to understand.
Yeah, so we've had to drill more. We've had to drill more. Yep.
Go ahead, sir, in the back.
I just wanted to ask, where can I find that on the website?
Find what?
The numbers of wells that we're talking about.
The question is, where can you find the number of wells that we are operating? Is that with DLNR, Ron? So it would be with Department of Land and Natural Resources. Department of Land and Natural Resources. 7 is in operation today. 7. Yeah. And just to make it a little bit more to understand, DLNR, we have approvals to drill up to 28 wells.
So it's DLNR being accountable, or do you serve?
For drilling wells, that's who you can hold accountable for. They are the regulatory agency that oversees PGV's geothermal field.
How many of your 7 wells?
Sorry, go ahead, sir.
They're active now, were active when you first started?
Sorry,
we'll come back.
Go ahead, sir.
I'd like to know, you made a distinction between injection and production. Now, you have 7 wells. How many of them are injection? How many of them are production? What's the differentiation? What is it?
Good question. So 3 production and 4 injection. So the production is what we bring up, what we call the geofluid, which is the brine and steam. And the injection is where I drew out there how we're protecting the water table. And that's going back in the ground, hopefully getting heated back up and coming back to production.
So you were talking about 20, I mean, you use numbers in the 20s, or 15s, 20s. So you've had to retire wells that have failed, or that have at least lost their potential for producing efficient power.
Yes.
So you have to drill new wells. I understand that. Can you give me any kind of idea of how Ormat's process differs from Iceland's process? A whole country that produces enough energy to no other energy production for 300,000 people.
So the process in Iceland is very similar to the process here in Hawaii. Yeah, they are volcanic. So in geothermal, to be successful in conventional geothermal, the three key elements are heat, water, and permeability, right? So here, we have that. That's heat. Steam is heat, okay? So we have that here, and so does Iceland, right? Now, the heat source here in Hawaii is from the volcano. We have sister plants in Nevada and California. Their heat source is from the tectonic plates pushing together. In Iceland, it's volcanic. In the Philippines, in Indonesia, it's volcanic. You know, and we have experience in those different areas also, Ormat.
So one more question. I'm in the minority. I live west of John here. So I'm closer to your guys, and I live 10 feet off the ground because I built a deck. And I sit out at night, having a nice evening, listening to the Kokies when it's warm enough, and the Kokies are louder to me than your plant. So, and everybody's different, you know, everybody's hearing is different.
Yep.
And I'm not putting anybody down for their own hearing problems, but I sleep like a rock, so I'm not normal like that. I don't, nothing wakes me up. But I'm trying to understand. I never noticed there was any sound until after the eruption, right? Now people were annoyed at the sound that was occurring prior to the eruption. I don't know how that works, but that's probably just because of their location. If your mitigation procedures are going to be effective, you're going to have to them fast. How quickly are you going to do that?
So for sound mitigation you're talking about? Yeah. So for sound mitigation, the major component we're looking at is for like the new plant on a sound wall that would put a barrier. And like you said, you hear us more now because they're after the lava flow. It's a straight shot, and we understand that. And how are we looking to try to mitigate it? We're looking at all kind of different ways. Are we still within our sound mitigation permit? Yes. But like I said before, that doesn't mean we're not going to stop trying. If there's a possibility that we can reduce it, we're going to look into it. And if we can, we will. One thing was even looked at of potentially planting more foliage not to try to help mitigate that too. We talked about that. Of course, the sound wall and whatnot. We have currently a sound wall on some of our equipment already that we did put in. The drilling is one of probably the factors too. Definitely on that side that has some sound that adds to the total amount. And we'll continue trying to look and take suggestions from like our engineer, the acoustic engineer that's subcontracted. Good question. Go ahead, man.
Corey.
I read that before the eruption, PGV was up on the hill about 30 feet above the surrounding area, so there's lava kind of mitigated. Then I read since the eruption, they're now level, up, everything's level. So if that's correct, have you folks changed your emergency response plan?
Okay, the question from Corey is that because of the lava, the surrounding area at our facility is 30 feet higher. And the question is, are we...
You're saying it was 30 feet higher. You're saying now it's like all level.
Now it's all levels.
It's okay.
The main plant... So the main plant is still way higher than the existing lava field.
The well field.
Yeah.
80 feet.
At least. I mean, before it was like probably 100, little over 100, but the lava river, which was the lower point where the lava went, of course, that raised up about 20, 25 feet, right? Is where it raised up in the lava river.
So Corey, we're going to continue to comply with our emergency response plan.
Did the plan change at all allowing for the lava having filled in some of the low areas?
No, we would have to respond according to what we have, which we did. You know, it took, we shut the plant down, and it was days before the lava reached us. Yeah. No.
Not for that, no, the height is still significantly higher than everywhere else.
The pentane still stored up higher?
Pentane is in the units, so we have units up on the high side and the low side. When the lava was coming, we evacuated the low pentane and took it up to the top side, which the top side never was touched. Even the bottom end units never were touched.
Yeah.
But it is on the lower side, the 2 units.
Before we go to you and you, I just had a person that called in and wanted to just share some mana'o here. Let me see. Maku. Go ahead. I'm trying to hear you.
Okay. Aloha no. Greetings to all of you. Thank you for this opportunity to address you and join you in this afternoon's meeting. I'm Lamaku Mikahala Roy from Kona. And Mr. Kalekini, I will send you, following my comments, a letter that further elaborates on work that I do in Kona, and that's certainly available to all of you. The testimony you're about to hear is strong. It's 3 minutes, and I am available for any points you hear. My testimony here is the Pele Honua. Oh, Pele Honua speaks. Although you and by historic day, hear my words, voice Akua Manaloa designates to represent me. Let these 3 minutes hold the understanding that only Akua may design and convey in that space. Mililani ki Akua. In Oiwi cosmology, that Kanaka Oiwi may know Kai Mana Manaloa, divine creator, 7 Akua with a small a, serve Most High God. I am one of the 7 Akua from the beginning of time and creation of life for all the earth in the Pacific. All representations of the 7 are untouchable. Kalua Opele, my lava flows are not to be touched in the least. The flow is to be respected in all moments, for Ka'i Mana Manaloa, Most High God, is respected in all moments. Only by the truest traditional and respectful ceremony may mankind petition Akua through me for the care of the flows, the life of the land. Quote, touch with your heart of fullest gratitude the gift of opportunity to know Akua Mana Manaloa, divine creator, in the experience of and your respect for me, Pele Honua Mea. How may this consciousness be witnessed in human beings who do not respect the representations of the 7? How may this consciousness be witnessed in human beings who are not Oiwi and descendants of the Maulia Honua, the established families of the land of the Pacific from time immemorial? My lava flows are not to be touched in the least. Fracking everywhere is an abomination that is causing great harm in imbalance. Moku Aveo Veo o Mauna Loa Kie announced that the new day has dawned in Hawaii, and Akua rises to speak to mankind for the benefit of Earth, mankind, and all life upon the planet. This is the call of heaven for Keaulama, the era of light, and the restoration of the kingdom of Hawaii based at Kamakuhonu in Pu'uokaluokalani, the repository of the especially sacred lands of the ages of Akua. I close with Okapono Kehana Ia Iho Mai Kalani. As righteousness prevails, heaven descends. Pardon these noises here.
Mahalo. Thank you very much, Lamaku.
Thank you all. And again, I'm available, Mr. Kalekini. You have my contact information.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mahalo.
Aloha.
Aloha. Next question. Put my leave down. I'm going
to get through all of these?
Yeah, I'm going to send them by email.
Okay. Anybody else got, ma'am, go ahead.
So, following that up, not that I could ever follow that up, I do feel like we have to remember the people that lived here forever ago, since 200, 400 AD, that lived here really, truly sustainably. They have so much to teach us, and we need to go back to those understandings in order to save this Aina and this planet.
Right.
So when we have things that, we compare a geothermal plant to our cars, well, guess what? We're all going to have to stop using our cars pretty soon because the planet's not going to last if we don't. And we're going to have to stop using these plants that are toxic. And I just want to say, like years ago, there was a geothermal conference here, and we all went and we talked to the World Bank. And the geothermal conference, people that were there said that no respectful geothermal plant anywhere on this planet doesn't have a 10-mile radius around them where there's no people living. We live in Leilani Estates. We are not anywhere near a 10-mile radius. We have been poisoned and we have been treated like we are not people. That we don't. It's not okay that we have a vision of our future. And I want to live in Hawaii along with the people that have come before and learn from them, and not go along with people that want to make a ton of money and want to change, the way that we treat this planet. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Remember that literally the majority of geothermal plants on this planet, they have a 10-mile radius where no people live. And that's for safety. And so there's no safety, there's no way these guys can have a safety thing that's going to protect any of us. And all the times that there were blowouts, when the hurricane happened, it was run for your life, or, get out of the way, don't breathe. So it's not fair, and I get it that you guys are trying to do something sustainable, but we really need to look at what real sustainability is. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kalia. I think next time we can bring photos of plants that were new by the...
To that is that there's some maybe very desolate, but there's a lot that are next. There is some doubt, for.
We'll bring some photos next
Yeah, I mean, it's geothermal plants that are in major areas in cities. And then also like the 10-mile radius, 22 fissures, and there was no evacuation with SO2 that was definitely way worse than H2S. I mean, I understand. Well, man,
Yeah,
let me talk. So, there was also this big hazard that was present during the lava eruption. It had a lot of SO2, millions and millions of pounds coming out, and yet people wanted to be in the area, people wanted to be taking pictures and be around it, and government allowed it. And so I understand your point too, but it's also kind of ironic that we had this event that had so much of this, but yet, like Mike said, nobody got sick and everybody wanted to be around it, So we really got to consider how realistic is that 10-mile radius for H2S compared to 22 fissures of SO2. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead, ma'am.
But before what we really want to try to do is see how we can get everyone to want to be around us.
To follow all that up, just because something is packaged as renewable doesn't mean it's not this same extractive and really harmful behavior that we need to move away from if we're all going to survive. Like, we're done raping the land and the Aina. And I just really think, like, geothermal is an incredible small bandage to a very bigger consumerism problem, and it's not. Is that the direction that we want to head? Right, you're making comparisons about cars and drills, and we don't need either of those, and we're not going to be able to even have access, and a lot of people don't even have access to that. So there's just a lot of layers, and I don't really know how helpful, like you said, to the community geothermal actually is.
I appreciate your comments. What's your name?
I'm Hannah.
Hannah, thank you. Aloha. I think we're going up here in a few, but
go ahead.
Shelley?
So I noticed
Hey,
on the
Shelley.
news report by the Really Something Media.
I'll hold it for you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm hoping I'm not seeing it wrong, but basically that your plans go to 2052 or something like that?
Okay.
And, okay, yes, okay. So I just want to know, so far as, my question is having to do with, real briefly, the county document saying although the land was to the United States, the lands never became the property of the United States. I'm an American, and I'm saying here, I know for a fact that these lands are under Department of Interior, registered to codified allodial Maheli title. So it's not a matter if, it's when the kingdom comes online, because we're looking at maybe dual citizenship, all kind of things. So what's going to be your plan if the kingdom doesn't want geothermal?
We're going to listen to the king.
Thank you. Mahalo.
Go ahead, Court.
According to Sarah Steiner, PGV, there were, after the eruption, there were 26 pallets of sodium chloride shipped from Oahu, cost about $47,000. And did PGV pay back the taxpayers?
Good question. Corey's asking about salt that was shipped from Oahu during the eruption and asking if PGV paid for the shipment and the cost of the salt from Sarah Steiner. So that was part of the governor's task force questions she provided. And that's, governor's task force is Tom Travis.
Not here. But you don't think PGV paid for the salt or?
Task force was Travis, so.
As far as I know, for all salt, could be wrong if there was a, he brought in many truckloads. But we did it all procurement. So she's seeing something, but I'm not sure if there's something.
We paid for salt that was brought. Certain.
After the eruption, they able to get ability and start.
Repeat the question. So the question is, were we able to get back onto site eruption? In 2000, well, let me finish. So the eruption started on May 3rd, 2018 in Leilani. USGS declared the eruption stopped in early August. So Jordan, what did we do after early August?
No, so during the lava event, we were flying in.
And during?
So during the lava event, we would fly in, check on the wells, check on equipment. I mean, any type of machinery like tractors or diesel generators, we try to run because, of course, it's stagnant. So we would come in. We would come in weekly. It would be about 45 minutes on the ground every week during the lava flow. As soon as it stopped in August, we were actually camping in on site. So we'd fly in Tuesday morning and we'd stay Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and fly out Thursday. I procured a helicopter also to stand by because we didn't want to rely on government resources. So we had to pay for that to make sure that we were self-sufficient. And we would be doing work and monitoring and everything at the well.
When did the drills start going again in 2019? When were you able to actually start?
MW1 or 4? What
So we drilled our water well first.
Beginning of 2019. First quarter 2019 was the first drilling.
Water well. Fresh water well.
When did you drill your first injection well?
Or geothermal well?
So we went in first and tried to renovate
but
old well
so it took
first.
time. So
we had to go in and analyze if it's worth re-drilling or if it's better off just drilling new wells. So we had to assess our current well situation and then go from there.
So
you do mechanical integrity tests.
The first new well was in early 2021 because we started up with in 2020.
Sir, go ahead.
What we did.
For the record, this is a community public meeting, correct?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Okay, for the record,
clarification.
Yep,
I wanna say-
for the record, it's a community meeting.
In the next meeting, my suggestion is the ones that are here, before you answer those online, please let us ask our questions first. That's all I ask.
Duly noted. So what the gentleman is asking that we answer questions locally and then go over the questions we receive online. Thank you for your comment.
It's a catch-22 because then they get mad at us for not answering theirs online.
Well, no, we understand. We hear you. The good news is Corey Harden, she sends it online and she comes in person. Great example. Okay, we're wrapping up. We'll ask the gentleman in the back before we wrap up and clean up.
Hello everyone, my name is Leomano Torode. I'm from here, Pahoa. My family came here in the 600s. I'm from Keahialaka. I live down at Puola'a. My home surf break is secrets. The lava covered my home. It covered the school that my family built. So this is my home, and I am one of the native Hawaiian. I'm one of the younger ones coming up. Uncle has been here a long time, way before me. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your comments, and thank you, you too. After the last meeting, I went home. I bought shares in HE, Hawaiian Electric, and on Ormat. Ormat goes for about $100 right now. Hawaiian Electric goes about $50. I bought a couple just because I know, hey, they're gonna build it no matter what we say. So my question is, what is the financial gain for selling out our home and selling out our people? Our people, not our people. There's a couple Hawaiians in here. Put your hands in the air if you're Hawaiian, please. Look, we're selling out us. This is our home. We don't want it. I don't want it. But people are making it happen. So how much money am I getting paid personally? Nothing. I get zero. Where's my stipend? I have none. So I want to know the financial gain of selling out the Hawaiians, Uncle, because we're not the ones pushing this. This is you. You giving them all the power. So I like to know how much we're going to make off of the financial gains from Hawaiian Electric, their stocks, Ormat facility, their stocks, and next legislation, I'm dropping a bill, I'm introducing a bill for the Native Hawaiian Energy Mahalo, which provides all Native Hawaiian descendant people, their residents and their not-for-profit business, non-businesses, not commercial, free energy. This is what we're owed as Native Hawaiians. This is what we're owed. So are we gonna get our financial benefit package from Ormat and Hawaiian Electric? When can I expect my money for my home that's been stolen? I need help. I'm poor. My family needs to buy a house, and I need money. And they're selling out my land. They're selling out my culture. So I like, no, where am I going to get paid for this stuff? Because I'm suffering. My whole everything just got covered. The school my family built just got covered. Everything I love was down there. I was raised in Leilani. I used to go Hawaiian immersion school from Leilani every day. So my home is gone. And I like to know how and when am I going to be compensated for all of this stuff.
Okay, you guys heard the question. Thank you, Lemana. Yeah, so from our perspective, the benefits to the entire island, including the Kanaka Maoli, and anyone else who lives here, is really trying to provide the lowest cost energy from a resource that is indigenous on our island, right? We don't have oil, so we can't pay individuals out.
I have stocks. I'm a part owner in these companies, and I bet you are too.
Or if
You've got to be smart enough to buy shares in this, right? Look, he's shaking his head. It's going to happen, and that's how you know, because they own stocks just like me. It's not going to stop. And I wasn't asking what everyone benefits. I don't care what they benefit. I like to know what me and my family benefit. You and your family benefit, and only us. I'm not including everybody else.
And Lemana, like I said, we can't help Hawaiian. I'll tell you that up front. But we can, residents, been here from the very beginning.
The population of Hawaii on this island is 9.3%.
Yeah.
We can do that.
But this project that we're doing is going to benefit everyone, including indigenous, and including the folks that have been here for hundreds or thousands of years.
The stockholders like me, the shareholders, a lot of money. That money could go, the stipend that I'm introducing as the bill would be from Puna Geothermal Venture on behalf of Ormat to the Hawaiians.
Right, I hear you, and we'll take that back, but just put this into perspective.
Yes.
PGV is less than 1% of Ormat's portfolio.
Yes.
So whatever you see on the stock, we're contributing less than 1%.
That's still,
It's
still
something.
a lot of money.
It's something.
I mean, I would be worried if I was a shareholder and this project wasn't going to happen. That would lose me all the investments. And I mean, if you look on Ormat's website, you can see the procurement of our lands, and they tell you everything that they plan on doing and the financial benefits of investing in this project.
And just to clarify, so the land that we're on is actually Lyman land. It's private, yeah? The Lyman family. You familiar?
Even Lyman's still there.
Okay, I don't know. But it's Lyman land, and that's the property that we're on today. So, but thank you for your manao. We'll take that recorded. We're going to upload everything online in a day or two or a couple of days. And listen, we really appreciate.
If I come out a little aggressive, I'm sorry. I'm not used to the public speaking.
No worries.
Really,
You did very well. Appreciate it. We'll be here cleaning up if you guys want. We're cleaning up, but we're going to wrap this up, and we'll see you guys in April. April 11th. There you go.
Next meeting is scheduled for April 11th. We'll send out, like we did this time, press release, media, and print out. Check our website because the Puna Geothermal website, because things do occasionally change in terms of the meeting dates, and we'll give a heads up, several weeks in advance.
What did you include the meeting we had last time, the scoping meeting we had last time? It wasn't included on the website. It's not there now.
The EIS meeting?
Correct.
That's a different process than these quarterly community meetings.
Listen, we can get that on there, though. That's not a problem. We videotaped it. Every meeting that we do that we videotape, we'll upload it. So we'll be here cleaning up. You guys can just please feel free to just hang out, talk story, and appreciate you guys coming out. We'll see you guys in April.